Hi, it's me again. I was recording my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming, and my recording device ran out of room and decided to tell me in the middle of what I was talking, so I got interrupted. So that was only a 6-minute video. I'll watch that one before you watch this one. I guess it's going to be a fucking two-parter, even though I didn't mean to do that. So sorry that it happened this way. I don't feel like doing it over, because I already said a lot that I want to say, and I want to continue talking. Okay, so yeah, to sum it up, I hated the cast, aside from Tom Holland and Michael Keaton. I hated the fact that he had an AI in his suit. He had he had so much stuff that his suit can do. And I love that he had a mechanical spider that was a tracer and he could keep track of villains he was trying to catch, because he had that in the comics, and I wanted to see that. Also, they had the Spidey light, the Spidey signal that came from his belt. That was cool. But he got all his tech from Tony Stark. It was like an Iron Spider-Man. I didn't care for that, and I didn't care for how Tony Stark and Iron Man saved his ass on a few occasions. He didn't really save the day, as I said in the last video. He just kind of got lucky. So yeah, I didn't care for that. I hated the cast. I hated his fat friend. I hated what they did to Flash Thompson. I was an outcast in middle school. I got bullied a lot. If one of my boys looked like that little twerp, boy with the Predator became the prey. Oh my god, that would have been a laughing stock. I mean, come on, that was Flash Thompson? No. It was horribly cast. Terribly cast. I don't know who did the casting, but they should be fired. But yeah, when we did see Spider-Man swinging, through the city, it was great. It's great to see that, as always. His voice is a little too wimpy, but Tom Holland did win me over. He was a good Peter Parker Spider-Man. I still prefer Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, honestly. And I love those other 5 movies. Even Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I hated both of those when I saw them in the theater the first time, but they've really grown on me, and boy, do they feel more like a Spider-Man movie than this did. This movie didn't feel familiar at all. I mean, where's J. Jonah Jameson? I hated the fact that it didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. I mean, and he's in high school. He's 15 years old, which, I mean, of course, I guess this is an early Spider-Man. It's still kind of the origin. He's still learning to use his powers. He's pretty good at it. He's pretty good at fighting, small-time criminals. When it comes to, a supervillain, he got his ass handed to him, way too much. And again, he didn't even really save the day. He just kind of got lucky. Things would happen. And Iron Man saved his ass so many times. And I'm so sick of the remote control suit, by the way, too. Okay, Tony Stark, it's really funny how you're in some party or something, you're controlling the suit by remote control, making all the suits blow up in Iron Man 3, which is overkill. Oh god, and yeah, too much comedy, not enough tension, not enough serious moments. The Shocker is in this movie. He's one of the villains, but he's kind of just a henchman to the Vulture. He wasn't really in it. I don't really even count him as a main villain at all, not even a secondary antagonist. Yeah, and then Montana, which is the first, Herman Schultz is the first Shocker in the comics. Montana became the Shocker in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, which it seemed like they kind of took inspiration from here. I feel violated. Ugh, I feel like I need to take a shower. I can't believe I watched a Spider-Man movie and it didn't feel like Spider-Man. I mean, we need to see Spidey in action. He had his costume, doing his thing. It was great, except when his AI and his costume was talking, this Iron Man, Spider-Man suit, all those weapons, all those amazing things the suit can do. Good lord. I mean, is that overkill? They think that, Marvel thinks that they can't make a movie without it being, Iron Man, without it being like that. So, I don't know. Do we need all this technological stuff? And, it was a big mistake to read these great, wonderful, Amazing Spider-Man comics right before this movie, because, I'm just loving the whole 60s setting with the cool lingo and people saying far out and groovy and that's swinging, cat, and, then I watch this movie and it's just, we saw Spider-Man on YouTube. Oh, you're the guy from YouTube? And, cell phones everywhere and just okay, I know it's going to be modern. I know, obviously, it's not going to be in the 60s, which is fine. But, God, does it have to be shoved into my face every freaking second? Okay, I get it. We're... Jesus. Wow. And, it was a big mistake to read the comics, watch all the cartoons, and watch all the other movies for this movie, because it really got my expectations too high. Yeah, my standards were a little too high, even though there were things I already disliked, and I knew I'd dislike in the trailer. Recapping here. But yeah, it just didn't feel like a Spider-Man movie, and, the whole time he was like, what do I do, and, he did save the day a few times. There were a few things, he saved people, but, I don't know, it just didn't feel, it felt kind of sloppy. It didn't feel very focused. Wonder Woman was done really well. It made me, I left the theater wanting to be a superhero. This movie, it was better than, what they've been doing with most of DC movies, making it overly dark and overly gritty and overly serious. But overly comedic isn't really a very good contrast. It isn't a good replacement for that, and wow, yeah, I really like the other 5 Spider-Man movies way better. This one is definitely my least favorite of the Spider-Man movies, and he was awesome in Civil War, and the character was done well. Tom Holland's good. He's a young Spider-Man. He's still learning to use his powers. Uh, Okay, here's the things I liked about it. I liked Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He should have disguised his voice when he was wearing the costume, though. I didn't like all the technological stuff that his suit did. I didn't like that the suit talked to him. That was ridiculous. I liked how it had the webbing underneath his armpits like it did in the early comics. I liked how he had the spider tracer, the spider light. But, of course, they kind of screwed that out, making it all technological and the iron spider suit. But yeah, I like Tom Holland. I hated the rest of the cast. I hated all his schoolmates. Every time it showed the high school, I was just cringing. They tried so hard to be funny. I didn't laugh very much at all. I groaned a lot, though. And I cringed in my seat. I was like, ugh. There's a few things that got a chuckle out of me, though. There's a few. Even Ned, the fat, annoying guy I said I couldn't stand, even he made me laugh a couple times. So it could have been worse. But just don't call him Ned Leeds, please. Give him a different last name. That's not Ned Leeds. Woo! And then my biggest fear. Here's a minor spoiler. I gotta hurry and say it now. Actually, I'll tell you what else I liked about the movie, and then I'll go to the spoilers. The best thing about this movie, by far, was Michael Keaton. He rocked. He was awesome. And I thought I was going to hate the design of the Vulture's costume. When I saw the trailer, I was like, why does the Vulture have to look like a miniature airplane with all this technological stuff? It reminded me of the Rhino at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I hated. I hated that, the way the Rhino was done in that movie. I thought I was going to hate it. I actually kind of liked the costume. I kind of liked the suit. It kind of grew on me. It looked kind of cool. Yeah, it was a departure from the comics. I would have liked to have seen them make a costume closer to the one in the comics. It would have been kind of cool to see on the big screen, but it kind of grew on me. And man, he was really intimidating in it. They didn't make him sympathetic either, like they did with so many other villains in the past Spider-Man movies. He was, like, pretty evil and pretty damn menacing. Yeah, Michael Keaton saved the day. He made it worth the price of admission. He made this movie really worth it. He stole every scene he was on screen. Seeing Spider-Man fight the Vulture was great. Those parts were good. And the Shocker, who was just kind of reduced to a henchman, was good. The Tinkerer is in the movie, Phineas Mason, another actor who's miscast because he looks nothing like the old man from the comics. Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, was in it briefly. Not as the Scorpion, but I think he's set now. I think the Scorpion might be the next villain in the next one. No, that's not a spoiler because he shows up pretty early on, and plus, who cares anyway? It's probably all over the internet anyway. It's speculation about that. And yeah, Michael Keaton was awesome. It's pretty cool that he was Batman, and now he's playing a Spider-Man villain. And it's ironic how he played Birdman recently, and now he's the Vulture. I just think that's funny. So yeah, I loved Spider-Man, and I loved the Vulture. I loved when they were fighting. I loved Michael Keaton's performance. Man, oh man, some really cool scene when he's talking down to Peter Parker. Wow, it gave me chills. He was great. Every moment he was on screen was great. And Spider-Man, when his damn suit wasn't fucking talking all the time, and doing all this technological shit, was good too. So yeah, that's what I liked about the film. And the action was good too. Spider-Man holding the boat together when it's cut in half. Of course, then they had to ruin it shortly after that. The Iron Man coming in to save the day. And here's a spoiler. Yes, this is my biggest fear, was that girl Michelle, the character Michelle, played by Zendaya, some Disney actors, turned out to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe's version of Mary Jane. My biggest fear. Mary Jane, the lovely, beautiful, bombshell girl who was always swinging and dancing and always so happy in the comics, and she was an actress. Now she's, in this movie she was an antisocial, like, brooding nerd type, which is pretty much as far away from the Mary Jane Watson character as you can get. I thought Kirsten Dunst was good in the first movie, but then in Spider-Man 2 and 3, she really annoyed me. The chemistry wasn't good between her and Tobey Maguire. The romance was done poor, and she really got on my nerves. I couldn't stand Dunst in Spider-Man 2 and 3, but boy, is she better than this stupid chick. Oh my god. And then, of course, insulted. And the creme de la creme, Aunt May. What the hell were they thinking? Okay, wow. Why is Aunt May getting younger and hotter? In the Raimi trilogy, in the first 3 Spider-Man movies, she was played by Rosemary Harris, who is perfect. She looked just like the old lady in the comics, the caring, elderly woman who's Spider-Man's only family. She cares about him, she worries about him, she's supportive. Okay, that was done really well. Then in the 2 Mark Webb movies, the Amazing Spider-Man duology, I guess you would call it, the 2 movies, okay, she's played by Sally Field. Okay, a lot younger than Rosemary Harris. Not really an old woman with gray hair anymore, but, still, she played the supportive, aunt who worries and, tries her best to make ends meet, and after losing Uncle Ben. Okay, that was fine. In this movie, wow, okay, their reasoning was, okay, that an aunt doesn't have to be really, really old. Okay, but she was in the comics. She was really old. So why is it so... I had aunts that were really, really old. It's definitely possible. They just didn't want an old woman in the movie. movie. Everybody had to be young and hot. And Marissa Tomei is like in her like mid-50s, but come on, who are we kidding? She looked like she was like maybe 35, maybe even younger than that. Hell, I mean, Peter Parker didn't even look that much younger. I mean, well, he looks like a kid, but I mean, a little too young for my taste. But that was Aunt May. Wow, come on, I never thought I'd be slightly attracted to Aunt May. But yeah, and then Tony Stark's hitting on her. Oh, come on. What is this? There's no familiarity. Where was J. Jonah Jameson? But as I said, they probably would have screwed that up as well. They'll never top J.K. Simmons, who was awesome and hilarious in the Raimi trilogy. Hell, I thought, when I first saw Spider-Man 3, I was really disappointed. But that movie's grown on me a lot. Despite its flaws, I love it. It's very entertaining. I know that it should have been better written, better directed, maybe even better acted, but it's so entertaining. It feels like a Spider-Man movie. It totally feels like Spider-Man. This did not. This just had, Avengers written all over it. They weren't very confident in the source material. They weren't confident that they could make a Spider-Man movie and have it sell tickets. They had to have the Marvel, they had to get the MCU treatment. They had to have a Marvel formula all over it. Captain America and Iron Man had to be in it. There'd be several references to the Avengers, way more than I can count. They had to have the comedy, the over-the-top comedy. And as I said, DC, people who are like hardcore DC fans are really against Marvel. I love both, so, whatever. I'm not biased. They're always saying the MCU is way too, comedic and silly and way too much goofy humor. And I always defended it up until now. This movie, yeah, wow, way too much comedy, not of serious moments. And why didn't they have a flashback of his origin? I mean, come on. But yeah, after I turn this video off, there's probably going to be several things that I was meant to say. But overall, yeah, I was mostly disappointed. Right now, as it stands, I give it about a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 7. Because again, seeing Spider-Man is just so great. It's always so refreshing just to see him in his costume swinging through the town and, shooting bad guys with his web and all that stuff. But, yeah, I think my biggest mistake was reading the comics before this and really wanting to see a solo Spider-Man movie and not just another, Avengers commercial. I think that was my biggest problem. And yeah, the cast, I hated the cast. I'm just looking forward to him graduating high school and going to college and having completely new characters, completely new side characters. I liked him better in college anyway, the comics. And, the cartoon in the 90s when it started out, he was in college. So, he wasn't in high school that long. I don't know why they were always obsessed with making him younger and younger each time. And it's so obvious that he's a kid. But, then in the comics, the Fantastic Four, he'd go and see them and, they were, they knew that he was a kid. But he was such a loner, a rebel in the comics. Nobody knew his secret. He kept to himself. He didn't join any teams. He was considered for the Avengers. And I know he did join the Avengers later on, but that came much later. It shouldn't be his first movie where he's thinking about it. But, I don't know. I thought the ending was good of this movie. I thought it set up a movie. I hated the 2012... Well, I didn't hate it, but I was really disappointed with the 2012 Ninja Turtles movie. And the 2014 sequel was not that good either, but it was a lot better than the first one, and I knew it would be. I feel like this is going to be kind of the same case here. I think the next solo Spider-Man movie is going to be better, and then it'll be great seeing him in Avengers Infinity War, but I really just want to see a solo, straightforward Spider-Man movie with all the elements. I want to see a proper Mary Jane, a proper Flash Thompson, J. Jonah Jameson, Harry Osborn, all these characters, all this great, all these great people. Gwen Stacy, Liz Allen. Since when is Adrian Toomes Liz Allen's father? Where did that come from? Did that really need to be there? I mean, as cool as it was when he, opened the door to go see Liz Allen to go on a date with her, and then Adrian Toomes, his enemy who he's being fighting, opens the door. As cool as that was, and the scene in the car, which was so tense and just was awesome. Oh, Michael Keaton, thank you. You saved the day. As cool as that was, why was he Liz Allen's dad? I mean, what was that? And I thought the Shocker should have been in it more. I mean, we have Herman Schultz, and he uses it just a few times. He didn't have the full costume, of course. I guess they just kind of wanted to keep him and the Tinkerer, which again was miscast. So it was not Phineas Mason, and the Montana, who didn't last very long. I guess they just want to keep them as henchmen, and they wanted the main folks to be the Vulture, which I can understand. I thought it'd be kind of cool though, the Vulture in a fully costumed, fully done up Shocker with both of the bracelets, firing his vibration blast. I thought that would have been cool, but, whatever. Like I said, I didn't want to do that, so, it just kind of a henchman, and then, but yeah, Michael Keaton was so great, and even when they tried to make it funny, when he dispatched one of his henchmen and he killed him, and it was like, whoa, he's a villain, he's badass. And then he said, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that, essentially. Like, he was even good in those parts. Michael Keaton saved the day. Tom Holland's a great Spider-Man. He has loads of potential. I think if he had a little bit more to work with, maybe better direction, better writing, the dialogue was all fine. I mean, everybody was, the script was fine for the most part. It's just not enough Spidey elements, too many Avengers elements, too many bad. I don't know where they found this cast. I mean, they weren't really terrible actors per se, but they just didn't fit. I mean, if these are supposed to be the people from the comics, no. Give them, in fact, just invent new characters. Give them new names. That again, that wasn't Ned Leeds. That wasn't Liz Allen. I'm sorry, but no. I don't know who these people were. I've been reading these comics. I've been falling in love with these characters. I love them so much. I love this. I love Spider-Man so much. And I did not see that translated to the screen. It's a very poor adaptation. As a superhero movie and as an entry to the MCU, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh man, lack of words. It's acceptable. It's acceptable as just a typical modern superhero movie with ties to the setting up the Avengers and an MCU film. It's acceptable, but as a Spider-Man movie, I wanted a lot more, and I expected a lot more. All right, guys, there's so much more I can say. I could rant about this movie all day. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 situation where I'll rewatch it, it'll grow on me. Maybe I'll like it more with age. Maybe I need to watch it again. Maybe I'll go see it in theaters even, or wait for the DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. Maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe it'll win me over. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. I feel like I kind of am, because I really don't want to hate a Spider-Man movie. And I don't hate it. I just didn't like it as much as I should have. It's a Spider-Man movie. I should have been blown away, like I was when I saw the first two Spider-Man films. Boy, did they blow me away. Boy, was that a great moment as a comic book fan and as a nerd. This movie didn't really deliver. It didn't really give me what I wanted. It mostly fell flat. But again, I feel like they do have potential. I feel like they're kind of going the right direction. And I feel like overall, Marvel, they kind of know what they're doing. And it did fit into the MCU pretty well, maybe a little too well, with the typical format they've used so many times. It's kind of more of the same. But again, maybe I'm being too harsh, maybe I'm being too critical. Go see the movie for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe I need to let it kind of set. Again, I just saw this movie. I literally just left the theater. Maybe I need to let it soak in a little more. Maybe I need to think about it. But right now, I need to go, take a shower or go for a walk or something, because, but anyway, okay, this video is reaching this 20-minute mark. This is part 2. Check out my first part 1 6-minute video, which got interrupted, because there's a lot more that I explained in that one. So, alright guys, I'm Hellhound, or Horror Metal, whatever you want to call me. Spider-Man rules. I still love Spider-Man. I'm still a huge fan. I'm still going to read these comics, watch the cartoons, watch other movies. I'm not going to give up on them that easily, but overall, I think they could have done better. Alright guys, see ya. Until next time.